Hi everyone, welcome to another new video on Book Tales by Preetha. Today's video is on the topic book recommendation tag. I saw this particular video on the channel of Book Dragon. I quite liked it and so thought of noting down all the questions and giving my answers to all the 15 questions. So without further ado, let's begin today's video. The first question is, I have written down all the questions and I'll give you the answers randomly based on my choices and based on the books that I have read in all these years of my reading, all these years of reading. So the first question is, a book you tell people is your favorite book. As per 2023, if you ask me, because my favorite book keeps changing every year. This particular year, my favorite book is Anxious People by Frederick Backman. I have made a dedicated video on Anxious People and I have shared my thoughts in that particular video. I will put the link of the video in the description down below, so do check it out. Next question is, a book that is your guilty pleasure, and my answer to this is Erotic Stories for Punjabi Widows by Bali Kaur Jaswal. This is one of the book that I finished it in 2 sittings. The book was full of sarcasm. I quite enjoyed the book. I read the book for the first time in 2019 or 2020. I quite liked it, and since the once you start reading this particular book, you can't leave it till you finish it. So I have read this book I think 2 times till now and I quite enjoyed it, and that's why I'm putting it under guilty pleasure. The third question is a book that everyone loved but you didn't. For this, my answer is little strange, and book lovers, don't kill me for it. The answer to this is Book Thief by Marcus Zucas. I couldn't complete the book. The sole reason for it is every time I start to read the book, after I finished about 50 pages or so, I felt quite sad, and that is the reason I could not finish reading the book. I have taken a pledge to finish reading the book, but when I don't know. The book is a very nice tale about a young girl whose mother had died during World War II, and she was staying with her foster parents, and she collected books and during different incidents in her life. In the backdrop is the Second World War. The story is extremely nice, but frankly it is so sad that I couldn't complete reading the book. That is the sole reason, in spite of being a bestseller, in spite of having great writing by Marcus Zucas, and a book that is told from the perspective of death. I have never read a book with such a perspective. I did not like this particular book. The next question, or the fourth question, is a book you read the fastest. For this, the answer is Princess by Jane Sasson, and I also completed reading Maharani Gayatri Devi's autobiography, The Princess Remembers. I love these books. You can say that I love reading autobiographies, and in autobiographies, again, if it is about kings and princes, I get fascinated by them, and these kind of books are the ones that I literally read very fast, apart from thrillers or books that gain my attention from the very first page itself. A book that deserves more hype. For this, I will say a book by an Indian author. The book in question is Boundary, and the author is Anukriti Upadhyay. Right now I'm reading another book by Anukriti Upadhyay. Boundary is about folklore, and the backdrop of the book is Rajasthan. It is such an amazing story. I quite like the book, but the book is still not famous among bookstagrammers or booktubers. The book got released about 4 or 5 years back, but I see very few people talking about this book or any of the books by Anukriti Upadhyay. So That is one of the book that I think deserves much more hype than it actually received. A book that is becoming a movie or a TV show. I'm not very clear about this particular question, but if you ask me some of the books that I had read and which I would like that they should become a TV show or a movie, one is Palace of Illusion by Chitra Banerjee. I think that the book was written with the intention that later on a screenplay would be adopted and a fictional story on the Mahabharat mythology based on the life of Draupadi would be made, which would be adopted from this particular book by Chitra Banerjee. I recently read Yellow Face by R.F. Kuang. I quite enjoyed the book, and if not wrong, I think this particular book is already being thought by the makers or the producers to make it into a movie or a book series. I think I had read it somewhere. Another book, again the book is by Chitra Banerjee, and this book I read it this year. This book is Independence, and again when I completed reading this particular book, I felt that this book can be a good web series or a 3 hours film based on the backdrop of independence. A book you have reread the most. I do not enjoy rereading the books. I have seen many booktubers, bookstagrammers talk about rereading the book, but my memory is little sharp after I have tried to reread the book, but I have not achieved in completing reading a book for the second time because my memory till now is quite sharp, and more or less I remember whatever the incident has happened in a particular book, and mostly I don't read book series, so I don't remember reading a book for the second time. The 8th question is a book from a genre you don't typically read. For this, my answer is fantasy and young adult. I literally don't enjoy reading this book. I have tried several times to read books specifically based on these two genres, but I literally don't enjoy reading them. The 9th question is a book that deserves all the hype that it is getting. Again, for this my answer will be I read Anxious People. I quite liked it. It's a bestseller and it deserves all the hype that is associated on Anxious People by Frederick Backman. I enjoyed Yellow Face by R.F. Kuang. The book got released in May 2023, and seriously, the book is quite entertaining and it should get the hype it is getting. I enjoyed reading Eat, Pray, Love. Again, I read that book also this year. And one more book that I think deserves all the hype is The Seven Husbands of Evelyn Hugo. It's an amazing book. I read it, I think, in 2018 or 19. I'm not remembering the year, but it is one of the books. I have not read these kind of stories ever. So all the hype that is surrounded with these books are, I think that the book deserves those kind of hype that they are receiving in Bookstagram, on YouTube, on I think TikTok. Many people talk about books in book blogs, etc. The 10th question is a book you usually recommend when asked to give a recommendation. For this, my answer will be I had read a book called No Presents Please by Jayant Kriplani long back. This is a collection of short stories that the backdrop is the city Bombay. This is one of the books. I don't have the physical copy of the book, but if I have gifted this book to some of my friends, even they have enjoyed it. I also liked Cobalt Blue. I think I have review of this particular book when I started my channel. So if I get it, I will link it in the description down below. And recently I read Anxious People. If given a chance to gift somebody or to recommend somebody, I will definitely recommend Anxious People by Frederick Backman. See, my most of the answers are coming back to either Anxious People or Yellow Face, mostly because these are the books I read this year and I thoroughly enjoyed reading them. The 11th question is a book that has your favorite characters. Again, for this particular book, I will put and talk about Anxious People by Frederick Backman. All the characters in the book are weird but interesting. They have got a backstory which has made them the person they are today. Each of the backstory is interesting. Another book I read this year is Eat, Pray, Love by Elizabeth Gilbert. Again, it is said that this particular book is a semi-autobiography of the author herself. I seriously liked the protagonist character in the particular book. I have not seen the film, but I seriously liked the protagonist character. A book you wished you could live in. Growing up, I used to read fairy tales, unlike other children of that age. I literally used to think that those were the kind of stories that I should have lived in, because those were the things that I used to enjoy and I used to imagine myself in that kind of character. Again, recently I read Eat, Pray, Love. If I had tons of money and I did not have to work for 1.5 years and I could travel the places I like, I would literally travel the world. If again money was something that I did not have to think about. So those were the books and their characters. I wish I could have lived a life like that, but alas, the reality is not like that. You thought you hated, but you started liking it. Fantasy is a genre I do not quite like reading. So when I picked up A Song of Achilles by Madeline Miller this year, I thought I will not complete reading the book, I will not enjoy it. But trust me, once I finished reading the book, not only I thoroughly enjoyed the storytelling, I liked the character of Patroclus and Achilles so much that after completing the book, I literally had tears in my eyes. Okay, such good narration and storytelling. The author was successful that as readers we could visualize each scene happening before the eyes. Such powerful was her writing skill and the storytelling skill of the author Madeline Miller. So Song of Achilles was one such book which I just had randomly picked up after watching a video on YouTube, and seriously I enjoyed the book too. Quite so. The 14th question is a book that made you cry. Books generally don't make me cry, but if there is some good book, it makes me think. Once I complete reading the book, I think about it. So one such book, just as I said in the previous question, was Song of Achilles by Madeline Miller, and another book was The Vegetarian. It's by a Korean author, Hen Kak or something was the name. I will put the picture of the book over here. There are 3 short stories told inside one story, and it was one of the books, you know, after reading each of the story you will feel like not touching the book. You will feel like you will have some sensation within your body after reading it. But trust me, if you read the book and once you finish reading the book, uh, you will understand the plight of the protagonist to some extent. In some cases you might have to uh, you have to leave reading for some time to understand what the writer wanted to communicate to the readers. So this, I never feel like crying after reading any book, but this is my way of expressing my thoughts. I am thinking of making a full-fledged video on this book, The Vegetarian. In case you are interested, do comment down below. And also, I will put all the questions that I am answering in the comments. You can definitely write down your answers to each of the questions. The 15th and the last question is a book you wish you could read for the first time. I am a great fan or huge fan of Jhumpa Lahiri. Her books, I have all her books in my collection. But as I said, I don't reread books because I generally remember what has been said and told by the author in the book. But Jhumpa Lahiri's books are something that mesmerizes me, and given time and choice, my first picks will be any of the books by Jhumpa Lahiri. So here I complete 15 questions and their answers, and here are my recommendations. In case you like this video, then do hit the like button, and if you want to watch similar videos, then you have to subscribe my channel Book Tales by Preetham. I try to come up, or I try to be as regular as possible. In the upcoming days I have more videos planned in the pipeline, and I will see you soon in my next video. Do not forget to comment down below what kind of videos you would like to see in my forthcoming contents. Till then, tata and bye bye, and have a great day.